Welcome aboard, shipmates. This is Real Sailors, Real Sea Stories, a training program created for the United States Naval Sea Cadet Corps by our friends and supporters at the Navy Talent Acquisition Group in Philadelphia. I'm your host, Warrant Officer David Sheets from the Naval Sea Cadet Corps, and I am joined by my all-Navy crew of MC-1 Quinlan, who's our PAO, STG-1 Lewison, who's our Technical Support Director, and from the Naval Sea Cadet Corps, Ensign DePipio, who is our Talent Scout. Today, cadets, we have a very exciting guest, someone that you can completely relate to. First of all, her background and what she's going to be talking about today is Navy Civil Engineering Corps. And who is she? She's Lieutenant Commander Sims, former Sea Cadet from the Sullivan Division in New York, right? So she's one of ours, and you're going to learn about her fantastic career and how she was able to leverage her Sea Cadet experience, go into the Navy, and achieve all sorts of great stuff. So get ready. You'll learn some great stuff, and you'll figure out, hey, you know what? The time I'm spending in the Sea Cadet Corps, it's really worth it. Look what she's done. This is great. So, cadets, just like every presentation, you should be used to this now, right? If you have questions, put them in the chat. I'll read them off, and we'll get them answered. Also, you know, there's an online quiz. So this online quiz, which we'll post the link to the online quiz, give us a few moments after the live broadcast is over to get it up there. But when we do this online quiz, take the quiz, reinforce what you've learned, and get 2 hours. That's right, 2 hours of virtual drill credit. Make yourself proud. So, without any further delay, Lieutenant Commander Sims, this ship is all yours.
Thank you, Warrant Officer. Cadets, I'm super excited to be here and share my story with you and a little bit about the Civil Engineer Corps and what we do for the Navy and for the nation. So without further ado, let me bring up my presentation and we'll jump right into it. So as Warrant Officer mentioned, I grew up in Hamburg, New York, and I was part of the USS or the Sullivan's Division Sea Cadets. And I did that for about 4 years. So I've been in the Navy for 21 years. I did 11 years enlisted, and I've now been commissioned for 10 years. This picture on this slide is actually just a couple of weeks ago when I was promoted to Lieutenant Commander. That's me and my husband. And this why I joined the Navy. So when I was going into my freshman year of high school, my brother joined the Navy and we went to go see him graduate from boot camp. And when we got there, it was big and it was exciting, and there was companies marching all over the place. They were all square and all in these nice straight lines, all in step. And then one company started doing a countermarch, and I was just in awe. And that countermarch right there changed the course of my life. I went back home and I went to talk to my brother's recruiter. I was 14 years old, and he looks at me and he goes, "You're a little bit young, but I have an amazing program for you." And that's how I got involved with Sea Cadets. And we'll come back to that a little bit more in the next couple of slides. So I'll keep moving on with this slide here. The best thing about my job is definitely the people I get to work with. They have been some of the most hardworking people that I've ever had the pleasure of working with. I'm currently working with construction battalions, or Seabees, and we do just that. We do construction all over the world. And even when I was on my ship, when I was enlisted, the drive and the passion that the people around you have just make you want to be better, and they make you do better. So that is definitely the best thing about my job.
So you said that your brother went into the Navy. Is he still in the Navy?
He is not. He spent about 4 years in and decided to get out. So he follows me, follows my career pretty closely. So it's
very nice. Very nice. And what did he do in the Navy?
He was a machinist mate on an aircraft carrier.
Oh, fantastic.
Yep. So my top Navy memory, this is conspicuously blank because I couldn't come up with just one. There have been so many adventures and so many events and so many occasions that have just really fulfilled my dreams of being in the Navy and being blessed to be able to do this job. It was hard to pick just one. And I hope that no matter what career you choose, that you have as tough a time picking a top Navy memory or a top memory of your life as I did. So probably if I had to pick, the top Navy memory that I have right now is the day that I commissioned. It was just very special. It was the culmination of the first half of my career. It was 10 years. My husband he is a retired Navy senior chief. He was a culinary specialist. He was still active duty when I commissioned, and he got to give me my first salute. So that was really very special.
Wow, that is really, really cool.
Yeah.
Now, he doesn't do that all the time now, right? Or is that?
He doesn't wear a uniform anymore.
Okay. All right.
However, he occasionally puts his uniform on for special events, and he does salute me, but on a day-to-day basis, no.
Very well, thank you.
Yeah. So my previous assignments are all listed here. I've done everything from aircraft carriers to amphibious ships. I spent quite a bit of time in school, courtesy of the Navy, which we'll talk about a little bit. I've been to Afghanistan. I did 18 years in Norfolk before I was finally lucky enough to transfer down to Gulfport, Mississippi, and join the Seabees. So we'll talk a little bit about all those as we go forward.
Awesome.
So this is how it started. This year is probably about 1996, but in 95, my brother joined the Navy, and that's him standing there with me. You can see my Sea Cadet patches on my blues there. So that was a pretty special picture. My brother had recently come back from boot camp and his A school, and we got to have this little moment together. That was pretty special. That ship is actually the USS Little Rock, which is berthed right next to the USS Sullivan's in the small boat harbor at Buffalo. And then this picture down below is my unit. This was 4 years of my life. I had so many experiences. I got to go to the boot camp, and during the summer, we drilled actually on the ships. So we would spend Saturday night on the ships. We would eat on the ships. We'd sleep on the ships. We'd stand watches on the ships. We would do all of our training there in the winters when it was a little bit chilly. And since the ships did not have heat anymore, we would go to the local Navy Reserve Center. But those spring and summer nights that we spent on the ships and really learning what it's like to live and be a sailor was amazing. And some of the things that we learned there were just priceless, and they helped me immensely as I joined the Navy.
So you're really, incredibly fortunate that division has access to ships and things like that, because as you know, most units do not, right? Yeah. So for you, and you said you joined at 14.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there you are, a 14-year-old Sea Cadet, right? Probably trying to figure out what you're supposed to do, because it can be a little overwhelming, right? Yeah. Now you're on a Navy ship all over the place. That must have been pretty incredible.
It was really cool. We treated the ships as though they were commissioned. So we were requesting permission to come aboard, saluting the ensign as we left, standing the watches on the quarterdeck. We stood security watches. Everything that you would do on a commissioned ship, we were doing there, and learning those things and being able to have that leg up really paid dividends when I went in the Navy, and didn't have to relearn all that stuff, or didn't have to learn it for the first time. And it really boosted my confidence quite a bit. I was also the master at arms of my division for a little while there. And that confidence came through when I was just in my P days at boot camp. And one of my recruit division commanders, my RDCs, came up to me, and she had kind of seen me not so much bossing people around, but trying to get them to fall in line and, stop talking so much so we'd stop getting in trouble, and, just that presence and confidence. And she made me the master at arms of our division. So already, a day and a half into boot camp, Sea Cadets is influencing, the start of my career and really how it's going to go from that moment on.
So you said a very interesting word there, and cadets, I hope you gravitated to that. You used the word confidence, right? Mm-hmm. And that maybe you remember saying it, maybe you don't, but you said the word confidence. And our cadets ask a lot when they're considering going into the service, what recruit training's like, all that type of stuff, right? The biggest challenge that many of the cadets face is that sense of confidence, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's overwhelming. You're being put in a foreign environment. You have people which are adding pressure to you. We'll use that term, right? In that environment and stuff like that. Could you say that your experience with Sea Cadets helped make that far more, I wouldn't say enjoyable, right? But far more tolerable, like right at the beginning, compared to your peers who didn't have that experience?
Absolutely. Especially going through the 2-week boot camp that we did have to go through with Sea Cadets. It's obviously not exactly the same, but knowing what it feels like to have to be perfect or to want to be perfect to please, your leaders, and knowing that how to do those things, knowing that how to do the little things, gives you those boosts of confidence that when somebody is in your face yelling at you, what the answer is, what your general orders are, what the right response is when they ask you some absurd question, but being able to fall back on the stuff that you have learned and know that the time you have put in previously is going to pay off, and that little bit of confidence will get you through more. And honestly, one of the other things you're going to learn is fake it till you make it, right? So you have that little bitty piece of yes, I know this is right. Hold on to that and blow on that flame a little bit and make it burn into a fire, because you're right. You follow your gut. You're going to know that what you're doing is right, and let that confidence grow and let that confidence come out, and it's going to take you really far.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah. So as I came to the end of my high school time, me wanting to join the Navy, that desire never left. And I kind of had two paths that I wanted to follow in life. My father is a civil engineer, and I always knew that was something that I wanted to go into. I didn't fully understand the whole scope of what a civil engineer did. I saw what Dad got to do. I saw the places that he got to go with the firms that he worked with and the projects he got to work on. So I really thought that was cool. I always wanted to do that. But now I have this big Navy thing here, right? So I asked my Sea Cadet commander actually to come and sit down with me when I sat down with the recruiter and try to kind of figure out, what I wanted to do and what jobs I wanted to have, and, kind of which way I wanted to take my career. And I kind of knew very early that being in the Navy and being a civil engineer, they did match. But they only matched as an officer. But I knew that I wanted, because of Sea Cadets, and I had seen the interactions between the enlisted and the officers and how that worked, and I had learned a little bit from that. I knew that I wanted the experience of being enlisted. So my first plan from the beginning was always I was going to go enlisted. I was going to do some time. I was going to start college. And then one way or another, I was going to find myself as an officer. I just knew that was going to happen. So I also knew that the Civil Engineer Corps officers worked with the construction battalions, or the Seabees. So I went, sat down with the recruiter. My commanding officer is there, now retired Captain Bruce Bruni from, he was a Coast Guard captain.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's still active with he's one of the reps.
Yes.
Nice. Very nice guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. I love him. So he sat down with me, and I actually told him this story a couple of years ago, and he didn't remember it, but I've never forgotten it. So I told the recruiter, I said, I want to be a CB because I want to be a civil engineer. And Captain Bruni goes, you don't want to be a CB, you'll be driving bulldozers for the rest of your career. I was like, oh, well, yeah, maybe not. Okay, so what's the next best thing? So the recruiter was like, I've got it. Advanced electronics computer field. You can be an electronics technician. You can be a fire controlman. At that time, you could also be a data technician, but those went away very quickly. So that's what I chose. I chose to go into this advanced electronics computer field. I enlisted for 5 years. I went boot camp in August of '99. Tech Corps was right across the street. And then we got to choose either ET or FC. And I chose to be a fire controlman in FC. And never regretted that decision for 1 minute. I absolutely loved being a fire controlman. And a fire controlman is not firefighting, right? Fire controlman is weapons solutions, weapons technicians who operate, maintain, and execute the missions of fire control solutions. So we are chasing all of the little contacts around the sky, making sure if they're good, if they're bad. We're trying to see what's an enemy, what's not, and we are tracking them in case we have to fire upon them. So you'll see two pictures here. The ship is the USS Ashland. I was on board that ship for almost 5 years. And then this weapon system here was my primary weapon system as a fire controlman. This is called the Close-In Weapon System, or CWIS. We also fondly like to dress him up like R2-D2. I'm sure you can figure out why. And it's a Gatling gun. So it's got it's got 6 barrels and it shoots 1,700 bullets a minute. Actually, they're probably faster than that now, but and I did everything. There's 2 radars in there. There's a surface search and an air search radar. There's the actual gun. We had to maintain the gun and the barrels and the drum and the ammo and the hydraulics, and so much goes into this system. And I learned so much, not only about being a technician, but being a leader, being a junior leader. I was able to be the work center supervisor, and I had 10 or 12 sailors that were under me at that time. And I absolutely loved being there. I loved being on the ship. We did 2 deployments to the Persian Gulf. We deployed in 2003 as part of the surge after 9/11, and then we deployed again in 2005. We got to not only do ship stuff in the water, but we got to go ashore and we would do community relations projects where we'd go to a local orphanage and we would clean some stuff up, or we would paint or fix some stuff. Got to see 10 or 12 different countries on those 2 deployments. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. And throughout that whole time, I was also working on college, because I knew I still had this plan that I was going to be a civil engineer. I was going to get my engineering degree, and that was still my ultimate goal. So after the ship, I transferred to Transient Personnel Unit in Norfolk, and I finished my associate's degree and I started working on my bachelor's degree. And I told my command master chief when I checked in there, I said, I'm here to do college, I'm going to do my job. I'm going to do my job well, but I'm here to do college, and I'm going to get out so that I can finish my bachelor's degree. And then eventually I'll come back in, because at that time, there was no direct way for a fleet rate sailor to get into the Civil Engineer Corps. So I would have had to get out of the Navy and then come back in through a different accessions program. So that was my plan. And my command master chief looked at me. He goes, FC1, you're not getting out. I said, Master Chief, I am. I'm like, that's my plan, but I'm going to come back in. Don't worry. He's like, you're not getting out. I said, okay, fine. So as Master Chiefs generally are, he was right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
They have a magical power.
They kind of do. They really do. The message for the Seaman to Admiral 21 program came out for fiscal year 2007, and they opened the Civil Engineer Corps option to all rates. So this is the end of April. In fact, it was my mother's birthday, which is the only reason why I remember. And packages were due July 1st, and it wasn't an easy package to put together. I mean, they wanted everything from high school transcripts to all of my PRT records to letters of recommendation. I had to go through two boards to make sure that that was what I wanted, or, you know, to make sure that I was a good candidate. And it was a very arduous plan, but I went home and I said to my husband, I said, this is what I want to do. And he said, okay, let's do it. So I applied and got picked up for Seaman Admiral. So I was already in Norfolk. I went to Old Dominion University for my Bachelor's of Civil Engineering. And these few pictures here, I'm going to talk about them real quick. The upper right one is, that's me at the last time I was wearing my enlisted uniform. So that's the FC, the Fire Control First Class patch on my arm there. And my husband's head is actually right behind my shoulder there. These patches, obviously, those are old uniform rank patches. We wore coveralls and we wore utilities, and that's what those patches went on. The bottom one here on the left is my first salute. Like I said, that's my husband. That was pretty special. And
that is actually really, really nice.
Yeah. So that was really cool. And then up top is a picture from the year I graduated. Again, it was our senior awards ceremony. I was awarded that sword, that saber, which I now wear as part of my uniform. But that is Captain Bruce Bruni.
Yes, it is.
At my awards ceremony. And that's his daughter and his first granddaughter also. Her first child. That's not his first granddaughter. But anyway, and those are my parents to my right there, I guess.
What an incredibly proud moment.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. He still very much keeps in touch throughout my career. He just he's a huge supporter, and it's really nice to have that connection back to the Sea Cadets. He's always pushing me, hey, you should do this and you should do that. And I wish I had more time in my day to be more active in this, which is why I was so excited to have this opportunity to speak to all the cadets, because Sea Cadets did have such a big influence in my life, you know, and I wouldn't be where I am now without Sea Cadets.
Wow,
so
that's great. That's great. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. So moving on, as I commissioned into the Civil Engineer Corps, and we'll talk about that for a couple minutes. I think that's next. What's next? Yeah. So that we kind of have two facets of the Civil Engineer Corps. We have the naval facilities part of it, which is where we do all of the maintenance, construction, and operations on board naval and Marine Corps installations. So new construction, repair. We do all the maintenance on the roads, the utility systems. We are providing power to the ships. We're providing power to the buildings. Anything that, like, transportation that different commands need, they can rent vehicles through us. Anything that it takes to keep basically a little city running is what we do in the naval facilities side. So all the contracting, making sure that we're working with the right contractors when they're building stuff. We also do some contingency engineering, which is basically fast buildings that need to go up or fast repairs that need to be done. We have some specific skill sets for that and some specific technologies that we use to do some of those contingency things, building tent camps and stuff. Sometimes you'll see pictures of the acres and acres of tents. That's generally the Seabees that set those up with the help of Naval Facilities Command for the planning part of it. And then we also do a lot of technology validation and fielding for the expeditionary forces for the Navy. So everybody that used to wear, we all wear green now, but the original green uniform wearers, we do a lot of, whether it's robots or UAVs or boats or special concrete, like that fast curing concrete. Like there's all kinds of advanced technology validation and fielding that Naval Facility Command is doing to support the warfighters around the world. It's really something special to see the stuff that they do.
Now, is that what you're doing with your current assignment?
It is not. My current assignment is with the Seabees. Mm-hmm. So I may have gotten ahead of myself a little bit, but that's okay.
Well, that's my fault. I'm sorry.
No. I think it was me not knowing where these slides were, but that's okay. So my current job, I am with a Naval Mobile Construction Battalion, NMCB-1 to be specific. And what the NMCBs do is contingency construction. So we go around the world and we are maintaining contingency bases. So all the tent camps and everything that I spoke about before, we clear the land for them. We build showers, toilets, and laundry with leach fields. We put up galley facilities so that we can feed everybody coming through there. We have communication systems that we put up. And then from those camps, we send out detachments and we go all over the world and we're drilling wells and we're paving roads and we're building community health clinics and schools, just all kinds of hearts and minds and, just partnership things. And we're doing a lot of training with other host nation militaries and their engineering corps so that we can teach them some of our skills and our regulations, and they can teach us some of theirs, and we can learn from each other and provide. Sometimes we're providing running water to towns that don't have it, so it's the things that the Seabees do around the world is just phenomenal. And I am currently the training officer for NMCB-1. So I am responsible. We have about 630 people in our battalion. And I am responsible to make sure that each Seabee gets to the specific classes that they need to get the skill sets that they need so that we can certify as a deployable unit and be able to deploy and do what the nation needs us to do. So I love the scheduling and the training and being daily with the Seabees and getting to influence all of the junior troops. I just joined this unit, so I met them halfway through their most recent deployment, and I got stationed on Guam for a couple of months, and I'll get to go back there, and we did some really great work there. You may have heard in the news that the USS Theodore Roosevelt pulled into Guam due to some unfortunate.
Were you there at the time?
I was not there. That it all happened. My battalion was there, but the previous OIC was there. So I was, shadowing and following along and seeing what they were doing. But my detachment they were very integral in helping the recovery effort for that ship. They did a lot of transportation of both healthy and COVID positive troops to get them where they needed to go so that they could recover and clean the ship. And simultaneously, they were also offloading a USNS ship that was part of the prepositioned force that held an expeditionary medical facility. So this medical facility has 150 hospital beds associated with it. There's some ICU beds with it. And some other little bit lower level intensive care beds. So they offloaded all of this equipment from the ship and they brought it about 20 miles away from the base, and they established this hospital that would have been capable, had the need arisen, to care for critically ill patients, and expanded the capacity of the island and of the Indo-Pacific Command to care for any of the forces that would need to come there. So my detachment did some pretty awesome work in this last deployment that they had. They worked their tails off, and I couldn't be more proud of what they do and what they did. And I can't wait to go back, and I don't want to have to do COVID again, but we have some other projects planned that we'll be able to participate in, and I think it'll be just as fulfilling and really cool to be a part of.
So, I mean, it's almost mind-boggling for those of us who were, not part of that, but just thinking about that need. So, cadets, that's the instance where the aircraft carrier had to pull into Guam because of coronavirus on the ship. But just think, you're taking an aircraft carrier, which is a city of thousands of people, right? And making emergency contingency plans for health facilities and all that type of stuff at a moment's notice, because none of this was expected. Nobody planned on this. It happened, right? And the absolute heroic work that the Seabees did and the support facilities did in order to accommodate that need, that's about as close as you can get to, thankfully, to like a wartime situation and an emergency situation now. And it is really heartwarming to know that we have those incredibly skilled, dedicated people that can pull this off. It's, to me, again, it's just mind-boggling how they are able to do this and do it well and do it safely. So, bravo Zulu. Can't think of anything.
Yeah, they really, they did it on a moment's notice too. I mean, the decision to pull the ship in there was made almost overnight. And really the island opened themselves to hosting this ship, because we didn't have the space directly on the bases for 5,000 troops that needed to come off the ship in order to sanitize the ship and let those that were testing positive convalesce and get better. And so it was definitely a joint mission to get this ship back up and underway and back to doing the nation's business. And I'm proud to have been a small part of it. We did a few things after I got there, but to watch these Seabees and like I said earlier, the best part of my job is the people, and to watch their dedication. No one complained. No one got upset. No one, they did their jobs. And when they had to be up at 2:00 in the morning to move troops at 5:00 in the morning, they were up and they did it, and they do it because they know that there's a higher purpose. They know that we're there for a reason, and the dedication that they have to that mission is just, it's incredible.
Right. So cadets, if you're thinking, hey, what can I do in my life in order to make a real difference? There's an example.
Mm-hmm.
Well done.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So what else do we have here? So this is a little bit about my commission. We talked about my enlisted commands, and so we'll go through my commission commands a little bit, which we already talked about. So far my favorite one, NMCB 1. But the first command that I was a part of as an officer was Amphibious Construction Battalion 2, which is also it is manned by a combination of fleet rates and Naval Construction Force, or CB rates. And that combination, so the major mission of the ACBs, or Amphibious Construction Battalion, is to provide ship-to-shore logistics. So when we do that in a couple of ways, this bottom right-hand picture here is a picture of something that we call elevated causeway, or LCAS, and it's basically an erector set that turns into a pier that we can pull barges up next to. You can see the big cranes that are down there. They can put vehicles on those barges, bring them from a ship that is a mile or two offshore, bring them inland. and we can offload them onto the pier. There is a big turntable at the head of the pier, so they can get them facing in the right direction to head down the pier. And that is generally Marine Corps or Army equipment that we are offloading from the ships, and they go forward and they do the things that the Marines and the Army does. And we help sustain them through this and through a couple of other ways. So that was a really cool thing to be a part of, is building this temporary pier and getting to see how that whole operation works.
Generally, how long does it take to build something like that? Because it looks like a massive structure.
Yeah, it depends on how long how much of the pier we're putting up. I mean, and it depends on the bed and what the soil is like and all that. But it's anywhere from 10 days to a month and a half if we do the full length of it.
Wow, that's a very short amount of time for something like that.
Right, and we can get in and out of there, and we maintain it too. So it's a really cool mission that the ACBs have. So from there, I went to Afghanistan. I did a total of a year, but about 9 months in Afghanistan, and I was part of a provincial reconstruction team. And as part of that team, we got to work with the local engineers and the local agricultural advisors, and help them learn how to better serve their communities. We worked with a lot of irrigation plans and canals, and we helped them upgrade their irrigation systems and some of their dams. We did a lot of one-on-one training with the local leaders, and it was very fulfilling and very heartwarming. And it, you hear a lot of bad things about Afghanistan and even Iraq, but the percentage of bad people is so minimal, but their impact is so huge. So being there and seeing what Afghans really cared about and what they really loved. And that's the same things that you and I do. They love their families. They want them to be successful. They want them, they want to live comfortably. They don't have high expectations, and they want to be safe, so being there and being part of that and helping to move that specific province forward with some of their industry and their agriculture was really, really special and fulfilling.
That's very nice to hear, because that's the type of stuff that you don't hear like on the news. You hear more of the the conflict area, not the the I don't know if you want to call it nation building, because that's not the right term, but I mean building their infrastructure, like the basic stuff that you and I take for granted or all take for granted, and you're in there doing that.
Yeah,
that's
it was really cool. It was very, very fulfilling. It was just nice to see that they were as dedicated to the process as we were.
And that's good to hear.
Yeah. So from there, I went back to Norfolk, and I went to Public Works Department, Norfolk, and I was, so this is back into the Naval Facilities Command world where we are managing construction and the operations of the base. So I was a construction manager for a little bit, and then my favorite part of working with PWD Norfolk was that I was, what they called the ship support officer. So Naval Station Norfolk has the largest waterfront of any naval base worldwide. We have 13 piers and 21 miles of shoreline. We can put anywhere, gosh, I can't even tell you how many ships we could put there, but it's a lot. And the piers are old and they need a lot of love and care. And I got to interact with all of the ships and made sure that they had the power and the water and the sewer and the cranes and the forklifts. And I was scheduling berths, shifts and the maintenance on the piers and planning future projects for the piers for building new ones or upgrading existing ones. And that was a really cool job. Lots of moving parts. I got to learn a lot about, different sides of the Navy, whether it was the aviation world or the nuclear world or whatever, and just really integrate all of that and make sure that the Atlantic fleet, the major part of the Atlantic fleet was ready to do their jobs because they had everything they needed in port. So
I would assume that your experience being on a ship, so in this case, you're the customer, right? So you're used to being the customer. Now that's different. Like when you're working on the piers and everything like that, you have a good sense of what it's really like to be on the ships, what you really need, what's important, versus just doing that job.
Yes, exactly. And that was part of the reason I was selected to do that job. I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit here. It's generally a job that is saved for a more senior lieutenant or even a junior lieutenant commander. And I got to do that job as a brand new lieutenant. I had put on lieutenant just before, like 2 weeks before I took over that job. And having that experience of being enlisted and knowing what it felt like to wait for the crane to get there to put the brow up, or for the shore power guys to come and get everybody connected. I knew what that felt like, and I could communicate with the ships a little bit better to try to get them to understand some of our challenges, and that we were doing the best we could, and work with them and speak their language, because language on a ship is not the same as language on the shore. So
Right.
Having that experience of being enlisted was one of the primary, that job really kind of relied on that very much.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So after ship support officer, I went to NAVFAC at Naval Facilities Command Atlantic, which is kind of one step above where PWD Norfolk resides. And I was in the contingency engineering office. We supported units, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, all of the engineering units with reach back capability for engineering questions that they needed to have answered about plans, about terrain, about existing buildings. They would send us the questions and plans and pictures, and we would work with them to get them moving forward in the right direction for whatever it was that they required, whether it was to rebuild or repair or clear something or, bridge a gap or whatever it was. We were there to answer their questions and support them. So that was a really neat opportunity also.
Great.
Yeah. So the Navy actually paid twice for me to go to college. Part of the Seaman to Admiral program is that you have, and I guess I did kind of skip over this a little bit, Seaman to Admiral program is an opportunity for you to stay active duty in the Navy, continue to get paid while you go to school full time. You will have 36 months to complete your bachelor's degree. There's lots of different opportunities for different communities for you to go into, whether you want to be a surface warfare officer and drive ships. If you want to be a pilot, you can be a supply corps officer, you can be a nurse. There's tons and tons of opportunities, tons of different choices that you can make with this program and finish your degree. You're not using up your GI Bill. You are a full-time student. That is your job. You are part of a ROTC unit while you are at the college. And you get to concentrate on your degree. So that is what I got to do the first time I went to school on the Navy's dime. Had 3 years at Old Dominion University, and I loved it. I was very involved in the ROTC unit there. I was the student battalion commander for one semester, and just very much into mentoring the midshipmen that were in the unit with me, and helping them to understand, what it was like in the fleet, and making sure that we were producing good junior officers once they commissioned. So that was a really, really neat opportunity also. And one of the best kept secrets in the Navy, honestly. I mean, if you have aspirations, kind of like I did, you want the enlisted experience, but also know that eventually you want to be an officer, that's an amazing opportunity if you take it and apply for it. So The second time that I got to go to school on the Navy's dime was to earn my master's degree. I went to the College of William and Mary in Williamsburg, and it was part of an Army program, actually. It was called the Major General James Wright Fellowship, and I was doing my Master's of Business Administration. The Civil Engineer Corps is really good at sending its officers back to college to get their master's degree. The majority of us end up getting some sort of engineering master's degree, which is perfectly fine and totally relevant to our jobs. But I wanted something a little bit different. I wanted to learn something different. I wanted to be able to bring something different back to my commands rather than just engineering. So a business degree with a specialty in logistics and operations was an opportunity that I seized, and I was glad I did, because I was actually the last CEC officer to go through that program. So that picture in the top left corner is that was the group of gentlemen that I was with in the fellowship program. Great guys. Most of them are all 04s at this point now also. And just a really awesome experience. William and Mary was great, and I'm really glad that I did that. So
I'm glad to see that you're representing the Navy in that picture very well.
Thanks. Yeah, it was fun. Those guys were great. They really let me be part of their team, which was really cool. So these other pictures, like I mentioned earlier, I recently completed a deployment to Guam, and that is our headquarters building for the detachment there on Guam. Already shared those stories, so not much more that I can say about that opportunity, except that I'm excited to go back next year. And then these lower two pictures are just some fun things that the Seabees do. You know, our motto is "We build, we fight," with compassion for others, for peace with freedom. So not only are we out clearing and grubbing and building as much as we can, we are also able to protect ourselves while we do that. So you see in the lower right corner are a couple of Seabees that are protecting a bridge site. There's a whole group of them behind them that's building a bridge across a gap to facilitate onward movement at the field training exercise that we did last summer. And then, you know, we are very heavy as a naval construction force. We require a lot of big equipment. So this dozer happens to be below a large crane, and that's how we get stuff from the ship to the shore, or off planes or off trains. However, we just happen to get there. So that's part of the fun things that we do. So one of the other, in between the William and Mary and my commands now, I got to go to Naval Construction Group 2, which is also down here in Gulfport, Mississippi. And I got to work on something that doesn't sound very glamorous, but it's definitely an important thing that often gets overlooked. So I got to work on updating the Naval Construction Force's Doctrine. And what Doctrine does for us is it tells us exactly how we're supposed to operate. And it's written in such a way that anybody from an E1 all the way up to the highest level of planners at the combatant commands can open this book and know exactly what the Naval Construction Force brings to the fight. It had been about 10 years or so that ours had been updated, so it really required quite a large overhaul. And there's a whole library of them. So while I was at that command, I managed to get one of them to the printer. So we should hopefully be seeing that pretty quickly and start operating off of some updated Doctrine. So I'm looking forward to that coming out. That was neat to influence the whole force with that. So, and then, so, you know, we're not just a uniform. We do have passions that we like to pursue outside of the Navy. And I think that's really important to make sure that you don't ever forget that. You don't ever forget what you love. And these pictures are just a couple of the things that represent represent who I am and what I'm passionate about outside of the Navy. The first one on the left here is I grew up dancing. I was a ballerina for 13 years. And once I joined the Navy, I kind of stopped it for quite a while, got back into it in 2017 and was able to participate in a couple of different productions in the Norfolk area. And this was the one, the most recent one that I did. I was portraying a widow who was comforting a widower. So that was really fun, and it was really nice to get back to something that I was passionate about. The two lower pictures, I am very much into fitness, and I just, again, something you're passionate about, always learning. I just recently finished my certified personal trainer and nutrition, and these two pictures, the one on the left here is from a Spartan race that I did. So much fun, so much mud, so much flame. It was really a lot of fun. And then the one on the right is 2014. I ran the Marine Corps Marathon. And those just two small representations of the things that I like to do within the fitness world. And then that upper middle picture, that is my newest love. That is my motorcycle. My husband's bike is on the other side of that. So we ride a lot together, and it's just a little bit about me and a little glimpse into the world of more than just the lieutenant commander. But
so, who started the motorcycle passion? Were you the instigator, or did your husband bring you along?
I kind of was. So my dad, when I was very young, my father had a motorcycle, and then he got rid of it, and it was just something that I'd always wanted to get back into. And in January of 2011, Michael was deploying, and we bought a very, very small motorcycle from some friends, and we got it fixed up. And he said, all right, while I'm on deployment, you learn to ride. When we get back, or, when I get back, I'll get a bike also. So we've been riding together, for almost 10 years now. And yeah, it was totally, he had motorcycles previously, but I was like, I'm ready to ride. I need a motorcycle. And this one is my most recent one, and I just absolutely love it.
That's a nice looking bike.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. So and this picture is kind of the epitome of what the Seabees stand for. As I mentioned with the previous picture of the two Seabees in the dirt with their weapons pointed, they were providing security for this particular bridge detachment. This bridge 24 hours prior did not exist. And this is kind of, not only is it literal that we build bridges, but it's also very figurative. The Seabees are always out around the world building bridges between countries, between people, between communities, bringing in capabilities that may not have been there. And, we are just a force that is there to do good and to make the world a little bit better than when we left it. And I couldn't love my job more. So.
That's really fantastic. Thank you so much for walking us through your career and your experiences. And it's interesting because a lot of the questions which are coming from the cadets really did fit within the direction that your conversation is. So cadets, don't take it personal if I'm not reading your specific question, because a lot of it was covered here. But your last point that you made, like, this is really what I want to do, right? One of the questions was, well, if you weren't doing this, what else would you want to do?
Oh.
I thought it was kind of timely. Well,
yeah.
They're going to ask you the difficult, mind-boggling questions, right? So what else would you want to do based upon, say, your Navy experience of all the things that you've done, or nothing? You've picked the golden thing.
There is, yeah. My heart is so happy going to work every day. And I know that sounds very cliche and very cheesy, but I feel like I chose personally for me that there's no other career that I would be as happy in. I have worked hard to get to where I'm at. My plan that I came up with when I was 14 has kind of come true. I did my enlisted time. I am now a civil engineer for the Navy, getting to work all around the world, helping people, which is really a passion of mine, just helping people, educating people, doing whatever I can to make somebody's life easier and better and more fulfilling for themselves. I mean, that's kind of what fulfills me. I just love it. I love it. I'm 21 years in. I'm going to stay until either I stop having fun, which I don't think that's going to happen, or the Navy just tells me it's time to go home. And hopefully that is at a much more senior rank than what I'm at right now. But no,
I don't know. I think I see a lot more seniority left in you.
I hope so. That's the plan. Definitely.
Well, I mean, when you're writing Doctrine and stuff like that, somebody thinks highly of you. So well done.
Well, thank you.
Okay. Another question that comes up a lot is, we've talked about all these great things you're able to achieve. Okay. Again, these aren't easy questions, right? So along your way, inevitably you've tried to do something and it hasn't worked out. Basically, you failed. We all fail, right? So do you have an example of something you really wanted to do in the Navy we're talking about, right? Didn't work out, you failed, but then how did you either turn it into a positive or move forward and do something different, which was more positive?
So there was a job that I had applied for. I actually tried to get it twice. It was to be an admiral's aide, to do their scheduling, to be their right-hand man, to do, make sure that they travel on time and just get to be a part of that community and to really learn and get behind the scenes a little bit. And it's an interview process, and it's a personality meshing thing once you get to the interviews. And I didn't get selected for it, and I was crushed. Twice I didn't get selected for it, but I was given advice throughout that process, and one of the things that someone had said to me was, don't go after the jobs that seem easy to you, go after the jobs that scare you. So while being an admiral's aide would have been fun, I turned my sights to becoming part of a Naval Mobile Construction Battalion and being either their operations officer or their training officer. So just because of the way things work, it kind of took me a couple of years and a couple of different tours and jobs to get there. But now I'm here. So, just because you don't get what you want or you don't feel like you succeeded at something, you can make the decision as how you're going to react to that and turn it into something positive. So I took that, what I deemed as a failure because I didn't get selected. And I took the advice that I had gotten from those senior leaders that I was interviewing with and turned it into making my dreams come true. And now I'm in a mobile construction battalion and I'm their training officer, and I'm getting to go around the world with them and turn it into a success.
Yeah, it didn't seem like you failed too badly there.
So there's another saying that's called fail forward, right? So if you're tripping, if you're doing something, find your feet under you in something that you can take away from that and continue to move forward.
Okay.
So never fall backwards, fail forward.
So in your position, you clearly are working with hundreds, if not thousands of people that you've had these touch points along the way, right? Mm-hmm. Do you have any examples of something you feel really good about that you've helped change somebody's life along the way? Because clearly Captain Bruni, okay, who I actually have met, he's a good guy. I'm not just saying because he might watch this later, but if he does, you're a good guy. Anyway, if, have you been able to touch somebody's life, pay it forward, if you want to call it that, and, without getting specifics, because, sometimes these things are sensitive, and what did you do? How did you improve this person based upon your experience and what you were able to accomplish?
I don't know if I have any specific examples, but one thing that Captain Bruni actually talks to me all the time about is being a mentor. And And I try at every opportunity, if anybody comes to me, no matter how junior or senior they are, no matter what I'm doing, if they say, hey, ma'am, do you have a minute? Absolutely. I've got a minute. And if I don't have it right in that minute, then we immediately schedule something so that I can sit down with that person and talk to them. And
Right.
you know, whether it's career advice or personal advice, I try to give it to them straight and real. And sometimes they come back to me and say, hey, ma'am, that didn't quite work. Can we talk about this again? Or, hey, ma'am, I ended up getting accepted and thank you so much for everything. And, or this is where I'm going, or this is what I've decided to do. And you really influenced that, So that's probably some of my favorite influence that I can have. It doesn't always go the way I see it going, but it goes the way it should go. And that's what's important.
And that's real positive leadership. So well done with that.
Thank you.
Again, I really want to thank you for your time. The information that you provided was really very interesting. We've had discussions in this series before with Seabees, but no one working at your capacity. So you get like a different view on the same thing. So the cadets always enjoy the Seabees. They actually like the combat side training too. So there's multiple things associated with it. But I mean, your story about, being influenced, at your brother's graduation, your Sea Cadet experience, your enlisted experience, your officer experience, I don't know. I'm confident there's a lot more going on with this. So if we're able to continue rolling with this presentation in the next 10 years from now, maybe MC1 Quinlan will be happy with that, I'm sure. Well, she'll be a Master Chief by then, so that's fine. But if we're able to do that, I'd love for you to come back and show us your stars, because that would be fantastic. That would be great.
That would be awesome.
But I want to wrap this up, with our cadets' absolutely favorite question. Okay. So we ask this to everyone that gives us their time and has this presentation with us. So I don't want you to think that we're focusing specifically at you, but everybody gets to go through this gauntlet. So if you thought those other questions were hard, stand by. Okay, here's the question. If you were to describe the U.S. Navy in one word, okay, what would that word be and why?
Fulfilling.
Fulfilling. All right, fantastic word. Why?
Yeah, for me, the Navy has allowed me to do things I never thought I'd be able to do, and have impact and influence around the world, really, and being able to see the things and the places and do the things that I have done, and be a part of the mission that serves this nation is just, there's nothing else like it for me.
That's a fantastic answer and a fantastic reason. So, thank you very much. You did well. You did really well. Okay, fantastic. So again, Lieutenant Commander Sims, thank you so much for spending time with us this evening. Your story is very inspirational. Cadets, I hope you got a whole lot out of this and potential of, a future that you can be following. Look for your role models. They're all around us, and one of them may just happen to be sharing the screen with me right now. So, fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And cadets, you like this presentation. So go in there and just smash and destroy that like button. We all know that's what drives MC1 Quinlan. So please do that. Make us all happy, right? Do that. Leave a comment. For those of you who are watching this on the tape version, if you have questions, put them in the comments. We will make sure that Lieutenant Commander Sims gets those, and we'll get your answers right away. Not a problem. So on behalf of myself, MC1 Quinlan, STG1 Lewison, and Ensign DePippo, thank you very much for joining us in this episode of Real Sailors, Real Sea Stories, and we'll see you next time. Have a great evening, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.